The effect of cortisol is actually the opposite of that of insulin. Now, the way we said that because it sounds that insulin could have similarities between insulin effect has similarities between cortisol, but actually it's the complete opposite. So if cortisol is secreted from the adrenal glands under stress, insulin is secreted under rest and digest conditions. And cortisol releases free fatty acids and promotes the metabolism of glucose. Insulin uptakes the glucose and stores fatty acids into triglycerides and stores them in the adipose tissues. So regulating this, more candy, more decay. Corticotrophin releases hormone, is released from the hypothalamus to the anterior pituitary gland. And then the pituitary gland would release adrenocorticotrophin hormone. So it's an Act H that we have mentioned before in the principles of endocrinology. This Act H stimulates the secretion of cortisol from the adrenal glands. And these are developed under stress. So there, as you can see, there is an hypothalamus pituitary and adrenal axes. So why did we say more candy, more decay? As we can see, all of this is due to positive feedback regulation. So if we want to increase the cortisol, we need to increase from the very top the corticotrophin releasing hormone, and then then it will increase the adrenocorticotrophin hormone. So how does the cortisol when we say that enough is enough? So we say that increase in cortisol. So what happens is that the increase in cortisol sends a feedback mechanism to the hypothalamus to reduce the secretion of the CRH, or corticotrophin releasing hormone. And this is a simple diagram from the source Fast Bleep Medical Notes. It illustrates how the axes of the hypothalamus, anterior pituitary gland, and adrenal glands correlate with each other, also known as HPA, from the initial of the hypothalamus and the pituitary, HPA. And then we can see that the cortisol over here inhibits the secretion of the Act H and the CRH also. Potassium is high, it is aldosterone time. Aldosterone is secreted from the zona glomerulosa. Over the side, this one is where we put it in the first slides. The aldosterone is stimulated by the angiotensin 2 and 3. 3 is just a metabolite of angiotensin 2 after it's broken from angiotensin 1. And it's only secreted at high levels of potassium ions in the blood. Although Act H and other hormones such as dopamine, antidiuretic hormone, affect the secretion of aldosterone, they are not the main effectors as the other two that we have mentioned above. Is that in the proximal tubules, sodium ions are reabsorbed, and thus water is absorbed with it, and it stimulates also the potassium dumping in the urine when the urine is collected. As sodium ions are reabsorbed, so as the water, to increase blood pressure, increase in blood volume, and hence in blood pressure. The potassium levels in the blood will then decrease. So those are the main result when aldosterone is in the blood. Now, in the renin system, as blood flow decreases in the renal vessels, which means that there is low blood pressure, kidney starts converting the prorenin, which exists in the blood, to renin. Renin further cleaves angiotensinogen, as produced in the liver, to angiotensin 1. Furthermore, it is converted to angiotensin 2 in the lungs by an enzyme called angiotensin converting enzyme. This angiotensin 2 produces, from this reaction, it also produces angiotensin 3, which is a metabolite. It's also excreted outside the blood. So angiotensin 2 now recruits the pituitary to secrete the antidiuretic hormone and the zona glomerulosa to secrete aldosterone, and it has possibility to cause vasoconstriction. Once the equilibrium has achieved, the renin starts to decrease in the blood, and thus decreasing all what follows. Here's a simple diagram of what's going on in the blood. So as you can see, there is a decrease in blood volume and decrease in blood pressure due to, let's say, dehydration of sodium. This makes the zona glomerulosa in the adrenal gland increase renin, and then angiotensin converts to angiotensin 1, and then to 2 from the lungs, and then it causes vasoconstriction. Tells the adrenal cortex to adrenal gland to secrete aldosterone, and so on and so forth. And after the blood pressure returns, it inhibits all that follows. Now let's go to the adrenal medulla. This part of the adrenal gland is part of the sympathoadrenal portion of the autonomic nervous system, which means that the sympathetic nervous system is the one that controls this part of the adrenal gland. Now, sympathetic nervous system means fight or flight. Hence, we're going to talk about catecholamine. Now, catecholamine is derived from tyrosine. It's an amino acid. And by enzyme, tyrosine hydroxylase converts tyrosine to dihydroxyphenylalanine, DOPA. And from there, we produce dopamine. This is further either used in the brain as the neurotransmitters, and according to the place, if it's in the kidney, it will be converted to adrenaline or epinephrine and norepinephrine. So the catecholamine means run.